Hello and welcome to We Got a podcast about Dragon Ball from A to Z, from Earth to Namek to Sadala. We cover it all, and my name is Randy.
And I'm Doug.
And I'm waiting for episode 14 of Dragon Ball Daima, Ken.
All right, well, we now know how Ken feels, so this is going to be a fun one. We're the world's strongest under the heavens trio de dangers here every other week to talk your ear off about fights, goofs, and everything else in the Dragon Ball cosmos. Doug, tell me how you're doing.
I'm glad you asked. As you can see, as some of you can see the visual ones, I got a new figure in the mail. Gohan as Sun Wukong from Journey to the West, riding atop Shenron. Riding atop a dragon, if you will. I guess, actually, no, it is riding atop a dragon. But no, it's super cool. It's an Ichiban Kuji set. It's huge. It's beautiful. I love it. But I also got an early copy or prototype of Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta from Daima. What do you think about that? How do you like that?
That's not what he looks like.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? His head stays on perfectly, too. It's not on with tape or anything.
To explain things for the audio listeners, Doug is holding up the new bootleg Gotenks Super Saiyan 3 figure arts head, and he's attached it to mini Daima Vegeta's body.
I got sticky tack stuck inside of Vegeta's head now. I got to pull out.
Nice.
But yes, that's been my day. I got a new Vegeta figure, 2 new Vegeta figures, I guess. And yeah, it's beautiful. Third-party figures. If Doug from years ago could look at me now, I said I've never collect third-party figures, and now I have so many. It's just ridiculous.
I think we even have that recorded somewhere. So
probably, if someone out there can find an episode where I'm like, I don't want to record, I don't want to buy third-party figures.
You get a prize. It's a third-party figure. Doug will buy it for you. So just reach out.
Don't you dare put that on me, Ricky Bobby. I'm already spending enough money as it is.
Ken, how about you? What's new?
Man, so I've been replaying Yakuza 0. I think I've talked about it here a little bit. And I was going through saying, like, I'm just going to play through the story because I want to, like, refresh myself on Majima because I'm sure the new pirate Yakuza game is going to go deep into him again and his past. And I'm like, I'm just going to blow through the story. Well, then I get to the real estate thing and I hit the brakes like I'm episode 13 of Dragon Ball Daima and I do the entire real estate story.
Topical. And
then I beat that and I go to Majima and I'm like, let's go. And then I Cabaret Club, hit the brakes like I'm episode 13 of Dragon Ball Daima, do the whole Cabaret Star Club. So, if anything, I'm in the mood to really talk about this episode of Dragon Ball Daima, I think.
Great.
In ways that you might not expect. So that's where I'm at. And then I also bought Yakuza Ishin, which I don't have time to play, and I don't know when I'm going to get around to it, but it was like $20 on Amazon, and I'm like, someday I'll get to this.
Which one is that one? The one where they're samurai, or?
It's a side story, Doug. I'm glad you asked. It has nothing to do with the plot of Yakuza. So
it just
look
has
forward
the
to
name
that someday.
And the gameplay a little bit.
Yeah.
I assume
Randy,
it's just like that one episode of Power Rangers where it's the Wild West. Where
yeah.
It's like the 1800s, and they're all just playing their ancestors.
Yeah, that's a great episode. I know that one.
It's good.
Yeah.
I still think they should have made a Fast and the Furious movie just like that, where it takes place in the 1800s with like covered wagons and stuff.
Oh yeah, someday
Dominic Toretto is still there.
What a spin-off.
We don't know what that last movie is going to be, so things can get real weird real fast.
It's going to be the last one? I don't care. It's good, but that's...
Randy, what have you been up to?
Oh, this and that, just being a big nerd. I'm not sure if I've talked about it earlier on in the podcast, or much, much earlier. There's this one application called EmuVR, which is like, you have a bedroom that you can customize, put up posters and all this other stuff.
You had like a Super Nintendo in there, didn't you?
Oh, Doug, I got it all, man. I loaded it back up and I wasn't keeping track of like updates, and now they've added it where people, not just the developer, can like add things to it. So people have been going hog wild adding stuff.
Awesome.
So I've got a Panasonic Q in there, which is something I always wanted. And if you don't know, Panasonic made a GameCube in Japan, and it's like very like bright and reflective silver. But the thing is, the GameCube just played those little discs, right? You could just play GameCube games. Panasonic Q, GameCube discs, and DVDs.
Hell
which
yeah.
was a thing you couldn't do. Yeah, I coveted that thing. Yeah, so now I've got one of those in my bedroom, and it works. You could pop in a DVD, and it'll play DVD, or because you add video files, and you just say this is a disc, and then it makes a disc in VR, and you can add labels, and people have been making
used
boxes.
Copy of Shrek on DVD.
Yeah, man, you can get a used copy. I've seen people have made I was to say Best Buy. That's not it. Blockbuster. Like sleeves and cases? Stuff to like pull the VHSs out.
Damn, so living your nostalgic dream.
Right, exactly.
Because 2025, buddy.
It sounds almost like that Sega Classics experience in VR, which I'm sure you've done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But now it's like fully customizable. Like you have to like get in there and add your PNGs and make sure they're labeled the same thing as like a game or whatever, so that way it knows to line them all up. But it's very, very cool. You can make your own textures and throw it in there so that your carpet can be exactly how you want it, and
right,
with the right roughness values. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's cool. So I've just been trying to dip into that and try and make it a more customized thing. What I'd need to do is see if anybody has made a single VHS cover for each individual episode of Futurama. So then I have like, dozens of VHSs of Futurama. So I can just pop in an episode into my TV rather than, making like, okay, this is going to be 3 episodes and we'll put this, in there and make it a tape, whatever.
You want to just like reach over to the pile of VHSs and just grab random one and just pop it in.
Yeah. Because I have 2 in my room right now. One is Dragon Ball Z Movie 3, and I recreated the labels from the VHS release for that. And then I also made custom one for one of the Saiyan arc episodes, just Goku versus Vegeta, their big beam struggle thing. So
nice.
I just pop that in my TV, and it plays Rock the Dragon and everything because it's the Ocean dub, baby. And it's a good time.
You're a little kid again.
Yeah. So speaking of being little kids again, that's perfect, Doug. Thank you for saying that.
Thanks.
We're here talking about Dragon Ball Daima, and normally we talk about 2 episodes at a time, but Daima took a little break over New Year's, but we're not. And we're going to be doing just the 1 episode. So episode 13, we're going to jump into it. If you don't know, Daima's the new show, and it's been going on since October, and it's been happening. Ken, why don't you tell us what's happened recently in Daima?
Last time on Dragon Ball Daima, it's a Dragon Ball free-for-all. Dr. Arinsu takes a third shot at Majin manufacturing, unleashing Majin Du against the first Demon World's Tamagami. At the same time, Vegeta advances against the second Demon World's Tamagami and shows that his Super Saiyan skills don't end with the number 2. As both parties procure their prizes, Goma becomes privy to their progress. Now backed into a corner, what will the crafty king do to secure his position in this Daima wonderland?
So that was incredible. A lot of alliteration, which I appreciate. That first line is a Dragon Ball free-for-all. Feels so perfect, Ken.
Thank you.
You do a great job. So anyway, episode 13. Guys, how do we feel about it? Doug, let me hear what your thoughts are.
I always forget that like Wonderland is like a tag in this series, isn't it? So whenever you say it, Ken, I'm like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a Wonderland. And I think this episode kind of tries to do that again. Mm-hmm. But man, am I not a sucker for, hey, let's make the world interesting by showing one that's a big planet. This one is big planet. It lacks so much creativity and nothing happens in this episode. Like you could take this episode out and no plot would change at all going forward. It feels like filler where they're trying to show something unique about this demon world, but it doesn't hit for me at all. It's such a boring, uncreative idea in my eyes.
All right, that's fair. Ken, why don't you tell us what you were thinking?
Randy, I want you to tell me what I'm thinking.
You know what? You've been playing me like a fiddle this whole time. It's been a roller coaster. I don't know what to think. So please enlighten me because it's
what if he loved
bonkers.
It? I bet you he loved it.
So I've seen this episode twice, right? Obviously, I watched it live in Japanese, and then I waited a few days, and then I watched it subbed, which I've never done before. But with this one, I'll tell you right now, that first viewing, I was not here for it. I was incredibly disappointed. And then taking a few days away from it to rewatch it in Japanese with my expectations measured. This episode is like when you think back on Dragon Ball Z in those filler episodes and you're like, now this is good filler. That's how I feel about this, right?
Really?
It pumps the brakes and it grinds everything to a halt. Maybe. I think there's some stuff in this episode that come back later. The show's got a lot of guns that need to be fired by the end of the series. And it introduces even more in this one. And if it does, then hey, in retrospect, this could be like a incredible plot, actually relevant episode. But second time going through it, I had a lot of fun just knowing what I was getting myself into, because the episode starts so strong and it's just like boom, 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 boom. And then everything stops. And when I went back to rewatch it, knowing that that's what was going to happen, I was able to appreciate it for what it was.
Yeah. I didn't decide to watch it again. I could have, because I wanted to see, these episodes now are like going to be spoiler heavy, like going forward. So I want to just like be there as soon as I can and watch the episode. So I watched it when it first came out on that Friday and didn't feel the need to watch it again. I almost did, but I'm like, I really was convinced nothing nothing enjoyable happened for me in this episode.
Yeah. That's where I kind of was, except I had to rewatch it because I hadn't watched it subbed yet. So I had no choice.
And we wouldn't let him into the clubhouse unless he had watched it subbed at least once. So.
And you say that, just for people that don't know, you mean you watched it first without subtitles, still in Japanese, and then you watched it with subtitles, yeah.
Well, there's no dub. They've never dubbed Dragon Ball.
No, I know, but the way you were saying it, people probably be confused if this is the first time hearing you say that. You didn't mention anywhere that you just watched it Japanese with no sub. You just said, I watched it and then watched it with Japanese next time. I'm like, no. Both times Japanese. One without knowing what anyone's saying.
Well, that's very interesting, Ken. I'm shocked, delighted even, and I'm curious to know how you'll be approaching things going forward, or if this was just a one-off because it wasn't going to have a whole lot of plot stuff going on. And
I don't care if there was no plot, but it just didn't seem enjoyable to me. Like nothing was fun. Nothing was. I don't know. The big aspect really was boring me. I mean, we did this already in GT. I feel like there was a big planet, and even then, the characters' designs were really interesting. This was just like a round, nothing character, nothing unique about him looking. It was interesting that it was like we only saw a kid, and we didn't see like an adult. An adult size would be humongous.
It's very modern Toriyama, where everyone is just like circles.
Yeah.
And kind of very simplistic designs. Like, right, you think of the most simple looking character, and even the Frieza in his final form, looked simple. But Jiren,
we have like Jocko and Jiren.
And so, Doug, I do agree
wife.
That the giant of Monmouth was more visually interesting than this little kid going on his way to school was.
Yeah.
Well, unsurprising. I had a good time. I was here just for fun adventure, and that's what I got. I laughed out loud a couple of times, and I had a good time. But let's just dive into it. Episode 13, Surprise. And the events, we've talked about a lot of things that happened in our impressions, but to get to it...
Goma is getting desperate, seeing just how the walls are closing in. The humans invading the second demon world, and now he finds out that Arinsu is working against him. Under this pressure, he orders Degasu to disable warp. Degasu complies, but is rather shaken up as he flips the massive switch, shutting down the giant dimensional fish, something that's never been done before. Despite Pansy fixing the issue with the plane, the crew crash lands onto a strange new planet that is lush with huge, verdurous plants. Repairs are quickly undertaken to get the plane back in the sky, but the planets aren't the only thing that are big. The whole group is attacked by an army of massive hamsters and then a huge school child. After fending off the creature of planet Mega, Pansy, Hyvis, and Bulma manage to fix the plane and gather everyone to take off and escape the dangerous yet marvelously beautiful planet. That's the demon realm for you.
So, there's one thing that made me laugh super hard right in the beginning, which was Degasu going down the steps to go turn things off. He hits like the panel, and there's just like a magical barrier and disappears, and it's just a big frickin' toggle switch.
Yeah,
it's just all right.
The way he said, like it's literally like an on and off switch. Like, yep, it literally is just a toggle on and off.
It's very Toriyama.
Oh yeah. Now, when he is walking, before he gets to that door, there's like a big green tank up in the foreground. Is that the life energy that they've been stealing from people who can't pay their tax? That was the first thing that came to mind.
I don't know.
That's what that is.
I didn't even notice it, but
didn't clock it.
Sounds like it could be true.
Could be true.
As my grandfather said, it's either true or it could be true.
Whoa. Think about that. Chew on that for a minute. Did Degasu do like an energy beam to open the door?
Yeah,
I feel like he blasts like little
some
energy
sort of
beam.
like reactive life force, like he was entering a password type thing. Looked to me.
Gotcha. It looked like a regular energy bulb. I don't know.
Could have been just some strange sort of future computer that they seem to have in places.
Right. But in this
before
world, it's magic, right? So I wonder like if that has any significance.
Yeah, Doug. They don't have IMAX. They have Dimax.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Sign me up.
So
Thank you, Ken.
a thing that thing I want to spit out before we skip it is that this episode is called Surprise. And there was a very fun thread by Herms, Todd Blankenship, so on and so forth names over on Blue Sky. You might have heard of him before. Worked over on Kanzenshu, doing a whole bunch of translation and things. And he pointed out that the title for every one of these episodes is written out, and there's one red character. And all of these characters have these little two marks next to them, which are called a Dakutan. Is that what it is?
Dakuten.
Yeah. Right. Which kind of just like changes what the sound of the word is. So like if you have a da or a, what was it, a ta sound, then adding the two, now it's a da. And if it's a ha, now it's a ga. Anyway, there are only 20 of those in that syllabary alphabet for Japanese.
Oh, I like that word.
So, yeah. And they have not reused one yet. So it seems that there will only be 20 episodes because otherwise then they're going to run out of those.
It's
interesting.
It's clear to me that it's saying if you go and you alphabetize all of those and then you watch it in alphabetical order, it's a different story.
Whoa.
I think that's what the meaning is. Yeah.
Is this some melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya stuff going on?
Yeah, right. We are in Endless 8, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
But I just wanted to throw that out there really quick before I forgot it, because I was like, oh, that is interesting. And it's kind of just like a good little nod of like, yeah, this 20 episode thing is what it's going to be. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this. Otherwise, they would change things up and all that. It's it's cool.
The episode begins so strongly, and I think that's why, at first blush, for me, and maybe Doug's only blush, is that it felt like such a kick in the balls when we went straight to plane problems again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, like, there's some heavy stuff going on, and I'm starting to think that I don't think Goma can really do anything. I think he's just a loud, angry boy like Pilaf.
We haven't seen him do anything really, which I mean, yeah, like you said, with Pilaf, it could be intriguing. Like that's a fun character, but with him, we really don't see much of him. And when we do see him, he doesn't really like add much, really.
I just mean in terms of like being a villain. Like I don't think he's capable of harming anything, and especially Goku and friends. Like, is he really that strong of a wizard? I think he's just a guy who's power hungry and loud.
Summoning like tornadoes in the intro or something.
Yeah, but guess what?
The best thing about him in his SH figure art is that it comes with the Noibo effect for Goku, so that's not really.
Well, he can make his head really big. That's canonical.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna say it. I mean, like it's just in the opening. We don't know if that actually means Jack.
Yeah,
they could be messing with us.
If the Naruto openings are any indication.
Well, the series they've brought up the Oculus Tertius. It feels like they were talking about it a lot in the very beginning, the third eye. And then ever since they stopped talking about it for a while. And then Hybis is like, hey, I got this eye in my belt. That's my Hybis voice.
It's a good one.
Funimation, call me up.
I don't know. You were the official dub for that actor, for that character.
Yeah. And then Goma mentions it one more time. He says, I should have just wished for that. And so that is a gun that 1000% must fire.
I think they must have stopped mentioning it now just because we see Hybis more often. And if you mention it too much, people will make that connection like, oh, that must be the eye that he has in his belt. They don't want to make it too obvious for the regular viewer.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to get that. He has to have it.
Yeah, if anything, he probably is like Randy, like you said, super weak, but then getting that will make him the super villain last boss that they'll need.
Right. My thing that I think is strange, and maybe there is something I missed, is that he's reacting very strongly to, Goku and them coming from the human realm to do this. So he's like, I'm going to shut down the only means of like going in between worlds. That'll stop him. But he knows Arinsu got the Dragon Ball and is in the same building he is. And like he's got the military police out doing stuff, but like no indications like go get her out of her lab or something. Like she's up to no good. But
what's your?
You gotta wonder then if Degatsu's actually the one pulling the strings.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he seems like he's pissing his pants. Like he's super scared of Goma.
Right.
Oh,
That's
really?
true.
Maybe just because he has like blackmail on him. Like he caught him with a dirty mag, and he's like, "You better follow everything I say, otherwise I'm going to reveal."
No. That does seem very Toriyama. So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that might be the case.
But
I'll tell your sister about this.
And wouldn't that be embarrassing for you? Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of weird there. And the I don't know. I still am thrown off by that whole thing last episode where it's like, oh, the plane won't start. Oh, this very simple thing that was just unconnected, just like put it back together. Everything's fine, but now it's not working again. And of course, Glorio is still calling Arinsu to tell her like, hey, we got that second Dragon Ball. So stuff's happening. Like
we only get his side of that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what do you
one
think?
Thing where he says yes to something, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm curious where that's all going. But this time it took a lot more work for them to actually get the ship put together. So like, maybe it was a chain reaction
too.
Yeah. There was that whole long conversation explaining that the magic rock and like how it comes about and used as a power source and things and like the economy of it. And I'm like, is that going to play into something? Is Bulma going to be able to take one home? And this will lead into something else.
So yeah.
My first thought was Blue Aurum, right? Which is the Jocko Sky Gold. Jocko calls it, and then remember Bulma is like able to easily manufacture this stuff in Super because she gives it to Trunks so that they can charge up the time machine and stuff. So you Super sickos can tie into that. But what is that stuff called? Magilite? Yeah, Magilite.
I believe so.
There is so much lore explained in that one part, which is why when I was watching this episode the second time, I'm like, this feels like filler. But there's so many things they're bringing up here that if you're pumping the brakes because you want to be like, okay, we got to introduce some more stuff real quick, then this could be like an extremely important episode, right?
Probably.
To jump around here. So we've got the Magilite, and they say that it's. I actually like copied all the subtitles here to say this is Magilite. It powers everything. It's vital for staying in the air. They react with the acidic water to produce energy that can last for 30 years. Sorry. And then she says, Pansy says, you can't tell from here, but the top of the second demon world, so the bottom of the third demon world, is all made of Magilite. Acidic water seeps from the third demon world, which reacts and makes it continually shine like there's a sun. Depending on the water composition, the color changes too, which is such like a roundabout way to explain why the sky is green.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so this statement tied with the next episode preview where you see Goku falling towards one of those magic circles, and you look and you see Pansy looking down with one above her. So I was like, I'm going back to episode 3 to look at it. And they say, directly, they say like, hey, this gate in the third demon world goes straight down to the second demon world. So these worlds are like structured on top of each other, connected through these gates. So not necessarily like each world is like fit. I guess it doesn't matter, but they're somehow on top of each other like this. But it just felt like such a weird way just to explain that the sky is green. And they go into so much detail that it has to mean something. This Magilite has to come up again.
Right. I would also maybe I have a hard time, picturing this sort of 3D space in my mind, but I would love to see, like, could you just show me how this whole demon world is structured? Because, we have holes that will go to the next one. So it's like, okay, then is it flat and they're just layers? But it's like, no, because like they're on this planet Mega, and like you can see like a huger world, and then they're on like a smaller planet that's like, very close in proximity to this, this main realm thing. So I'm like, okay, so is it just a bunch of like tiny moons? And then like, how does the gate thing work or is it like a Matryoshka doll where we've got a big world and then you've got a hole and there's a smaller world on the inside and then go down? Like, I just want to like, I'm not seeing it and I don't know.
Doug, where's your poster? Your
right
Daima
here.
poster? Because that will show you the map of what the demon world... There you go, Randy. It's that. Randy, hold it upside down. Randy,
down?
can you hold... There you go. That's the map of the demon world. So we've got
okay.
third demon world on top, and then second demon world in the middle, and the first demon world on the bottom. There you go. There's your map.
Huh.
That's all it is.
Dude.
Makes
Well,
sense.
the thing is, like, I think you guys have your Evangelion brains on. This is just a Dragon Ball show. They're not gonna. It might amount to nothing. Is what I'm saying. They're not really gonna.
We had a guidebook that showed, like, here's the heavenly realm, and here's where, all of the mortal stuff is. Give me that. Show that
and it
to
was
me. But for this place-
Toriyama's art and design. So there probably is one that exists for this. Will we ever see it? I don't know. I want the super book first.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah,
I never got that.
Will it matter to this story? I don't think so.
But and I'm just going to jump around in this episode here.
Yeah,
like we said about the Magellite needing to come back, they have to come back to the Gigaths.
You'd think.
We spend this time with the Megaths on Mega, and then they're like, oh, this is only the second most dangerous. And then at the end of the episode, they're like, so you said this was only the second most dangerous? And they was like, oh, yeah, that's because there's this place called Planet Giga. Dude, check these guys out.
That's when I rolled my eyes like, oh, you thought big was bad? Now how about bigger? Like, oh my God.
Yeah. I figured that's just a joke. Because it is funny to be like, this is the second most dangerous. Well, what could be worse? Oh, it's this, but more. Like, okay. Sure.
And that's what I'm afraid of, is that these were just like tangential notes that Toriyama wrote down.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we'll just plug these in. Like sometimes it doesn't, the show doesn't feel Toriyama. It feels like it's trying to be Toriyama based on his ideas.
Right.
And like it's just a shadow of what he would have done.
Right. Like there's the difference of the skill of a natural genius that Toriyama was. He can create so perfectly a story and like structure it super well. Where no, if someone with the same bullet points isn't gonna hit the same marks that Toriyama does.
No, and I know there's people out here already latching onto this. It's not to say Toriyama never had throwaway stuff, right? There's on Namek when Vegeta gives the armor to Krillin and Gohan, right? He mentions the Rito people who we never in the manga we never see, right? It's just a throwaway line. So it very well could be the case here, but I sure hope it's not. I sure hope this is setting up something because they make them out to be such a big potential threat if you ever go like messing with them.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that all goes. I don't know. Maybe they'll all show up and they're all nice and they're going to help them in the final battle. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Chekhov's gun. I'm sorry if you're tired of hearing me say this. Two characters have got to fuse at some point in the show.
What's the character in GT with like that turns his hands into whips or whatever? Like early on GT,
Mochi Mochi. Why
that
do
is
I
his
know
name?
that?
That his name?
Ken.
Yeah.
The one who's like a sword and then transforms into a humanoid thing.
Well, there was Mochi
alien
Mochi
guy?
and Muchi, but they
Muchi.
were the same guy. Like the wizard guy was the robot, and the actual mutant machine was the whip.
Right. The one at the end that was the whip. Yeah. So I want that kind of character in this. I want like a villain that's not like the bad guy, but still like a bad guy with good character design and good like combativeness to our characters. I'm sick of like fighting just giant robots or whatever. Just not.
Yeah, we haven't had good like momentary bad guys. At all. They've just been
like little,
absent
just thieves and then monsters. So yeah, nothing really concrete.
It would have been nice this far in to have anybody who is on the villain side, be it Goma or Degasu or Arinsu, to like, I don't know, end up like on a video call with our main characters to be like, oh, okay, so now we're interacting with the bad guys. So now we kind of put a name to a face and just see how they bounce off each other.
I guess we do have Majin Buu and Ku, so hopefully when they all meet together, it'll be a fun, happy time.
That's true. As long as
whether
I got
they
chocolate.
fight or get along or combine forces, whatever, like that'll be a great time. I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious how you guys feel. I know that a lot of people have been saying like, oh, this feels like an episode that should have happened earlier. And on my second watch through today, I tried to like analyze it and be like, okay, where would have been a good point for this and like what things would have to have changed that would have made it make sense. I think that this would have been a really great point just a couple episodes back when they finally all get together, Bulma, Vegeta and Goku and Glorio and stuff. And this is them all arriving at the second demon world and being like, oh, okay, so this is what this whole thing is going to be like. Or even just like the sense of wonder they have at the end when they're leaving and they can see like, how beautiful it is and dangerous it is. Like an introductory episode to like episode 3 when we first get here, if like something in the third demon world was like that. Because it did
look really beautiful. Those moments with like the color gradients, I don't know, just moving around the plants and everything, follicles were really beautiful. But yeah, maybe if like Vegeta and the gang, they actually landed there by accident and they were kind of stuck there, like always running around from giant creatures, it'd be fun to have Goku and them save them from that planet, and then that's where they meet up and then continue on in the story.
It's no secret that I hate Glorio. I really think he's one of the worst things in Dragon Ball in recent memory. So having Vegeta, Piccolo, and Bulma here, even though this is like an episode very reminiscent of that 3 through 7 range where we were, having them here makes a world of difference to me, because we're not stuck with Glorio as much. And we can have the other characters have fun.
He was a very lame like GT Trunks.
Yeah, and it feels like having Bulma there, who is very interested in like how these things work. Works as kind of a good thing for like explaining how the world works. Because I feel like when Pansy or Gloria is like, here's how the world works, Goku's like, sure, whatever.
Cool.
Like, I don't care.
Bulma's actually interested. She's the one that will ask the questions like, oh, why is that? It's like, okay, yeah, great. Give us more lore if you haven't.
So if they're having that discussion, if the whole point of getting Bulma here was to have like lore drops with Pansy, then Magellite has got to mean something.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Otherwise, why are we bringing Bulma along? What is she doing? She hasn't really done anything.
Well, she introduced Hoi Poi capsules to the demon realm, so...
Hey, old lady, nobody calls them that anymore.
Look, she's just bringing it back, She's got to keep that branding going.
No,
so that way...
This is, like I said last episode, this is them latching on to a word like Katats and going like, look at us, we know this word. Even though they have not like called them that since Red Ribbon or possibly earlier.
The fact that she says like my dad invented these two just kind of rubbed me not the wrong way, just a little bit like, I don't know, like if you had, I don't know, I guess maybe if you had like an iPod, it'd be like, yeah, no, even if your dad did invent that, you'd be like, we have an iPad, my dad invented that. As opposed to if it's just general.
Somebody busted out a capsule in front of me and showed me how that is. I don't care if I've never heard of this before. I'm like, that's incredible. And you don't want to tell me who made it? Like, whoa, that's bonkers. I'd be excited, ecstatic.
Am I rewriting this in my mind, or does Pansy then also talk about her dad?
That's what I was going to say. The whole point of that is so that they can talk back and forth of like, oh, well, here's the cool things that our families do.
Yeah, I like that. That I don't mind. That's much... I'll take that any day over Bulma uttering the word hoi poi again.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. So we've got this whole thing of exploring and, things are big here. Goku gets attacked by a giant hamster while he's just chilling out, eating an apple. There's a second there where it's panning through the forest and it's like very like, oh, this is so spooky. Like, look, the trees are broken in half and there's scratch marks and here's a big half-eaten fruit, but then we show Goku sitting there eating a big apple. I'm like, oh, is he the one that's terrorizing this small place looking for food?
That'd be hilarious.
Then we have, of course, the big glowing red eye of the hamster. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's actually him, but like, it'd have been great if Goku's the monster this whole time.
He's been there for 5 seconds and he's like, look at all this destruction that they caused. Giant creatures. It's just a hungry Goku.
Yeah. So then we've got this whole army of hamsters. I don't know. It's cute. It's fun that they're like, oh, we got to defend the ship from these guys. And, they don't want to kill them because, like, they could easily obliterate these guys. But, like, they're just living their life. They're just looking for food. Get off their back.
Circle of life.
Yeah. And then this big doofy dog that's coming to terrorize them.
Isn't the dog voiced by Yusuke Numata?
I'd have to look.
Baby, I think, which is hilarious.
Really?
So he might have voiced someone else, but he's in this episode, but I forget.
Right. I think, isn't he in most? That was the thing like that Mike said in the most recent Mario Kart thing. Like, oh no, he's playing a whole bunch of things. Like,
well, that's going to come up that Baby has actually been parasitically involved in all of these characters that he's been voicing. So you thought this was connected to Super? I don't think so. It's connected to GT, fellas.
GT of all. Whoa.
That'd be bonkers.
His line is just bark, bark, bark. That's it for this character. It's a lame design for a dog as well.
When I was watching this, I was really boggled by the scale of it the first time. The second time, I was able to kind of wrap my mind around it more. But the first time, this dog is so small compared to the giant. I mean, this dog like fits in his hand.
I guess so. Yeah. So even for dog wise, in our scale, he's super tiny.
Because if you look at how small Goku is in comparison to the giant, and then how like large Piccolo was to the dog's nose, I mean, this dog was tiny. This is like a newborn pup.
I mean, I think they did a really great job of scale with the kid. Like he really did feel humongous. So like that's something that I praise.
He felt like a Gigath when everything else was at a Megath level. Like his scale to everything else that was also big didn't feel right.
It's a big boy, which that makes me more scared of what the adult would look like if that's what the kid size is. Right. I feel like you'd be able to see the adult size from the distance anyway. Like on this planet, you'd be able to see all the huge adults over the horizon.
It's early afternoon.
The trees are so
at the office.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a shot where Goku has his Yoibo out, and then he's fighting against the ruler, and they show like at the angle pointing at Goku, this ruler's like super thin, and then they show behind Goku, and the ruler's like hella wide, and I'm like, okay. And that was when I got like really frustrated. Like I get that you're maybe cheating just to show the action better, but I was already at that point questioning how large everything was because I couldn't figure out how big the dog was supposed to be compared to the guy, and I'm like, oh, okay. So my first time with this episode was kind of miserable.
I'll have to watch it again, though, if you change your mind second viewing. So
yeah, when you go in with expectations, Doug, I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. Like I said, like this, it feels like filler. Like it's like an episode of like the Namek Frieza stuff where we would have gotten like 5 minutes of manga related content, and then we switch over to something totally unrelated, and then we go back. Like in a way, in a strange, like perverse way, this feels like classic Dragon Ball Z.
Oh no.
In the best of ways and the worst of ways.
Yeah.
Just another thing, we're trying to get away the ship at this distance and everything from the kid, and like the shape of it, I'm like, oh, it really does look like a bug. So like that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I think I lost it and laughed really hard when Goku like landed in the kid's clothing and then was falling out towards the bag. Like, of course, like there's always a part of my brain that's like, oh, he could just fly. I don't know why he's falling. But just like the way he was just flailing all over, like falling very slowly from the clothes into the bag.
So that the way that like Bukujutsu is always explained is that it's like you're basically putting your ki like under yourself. And if he doesn't have his bearings, then maybe it's hard for him to stop himself like that. But I have a segment here called "Why Don't They Just?" Okay, and so we'll go through this one.
Here we go.
Awesome.
The first, why don't they just write Glorio out of the show? Okay, that one's out of the way. All right. The second one,
big one,
is why don't they just have Goku use teleportation to escape the giant's reach and like latch onto someone in the.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that he has that skill.
Like, which is another thing. They should have never shown him using it.
They should have
one really bad episode. I forget. I don't even remember what it was about, but
7.
He uses it just for like stealth purposes.
Yeah.
And
he should have done it where like I tried using it, but I can't. Maybe because I'm in the kid body, and then like reveal later on that he learned how to use it again or something. I don't know, but something.
Have it be like this Yardratian lore we set up in Super, right? And even if you don't want to tie into Super, you got a lot of great stuff you can use there. Like Goku's like, I can't shift my spirit because of my new body or something. Like, just there are ways around. Like, just take it out of the equation.
You wrote yourself a way to get rid of that end all be all, and then no, he still has it.
And then my wife has 2 why don't they justs here. She has
great.
And when the plane first starts falling, right? My wife said, why don't they get out of the plane and just push it?
Well, like there's
either
that,
someone on the inside or someone just flies around like Superman style,
because these characters we've seen flying forever, it lacks any tension when they're all crashing and screaming, "We're all gonna die!" It's like, no, you're not. Half of the people in there can fly, and it's like, you're gonna be fine.
In my wife's defense, my wife is not a Dragon Ball nerd. She knows a lot, and she makes references because she loves me. But she's watching this and coming up with these questions.
Yeah.
Why don't they just? Okay, and she's got another why don't they just? But this is more of like a why didn't Bulma pack a plane? She's got these capsules.
Oh, yes.
They have a huge ass cargo plane, remember? That they were carrying everyone in the Cell arc so that no one was flying, I guess. I don't remember the reasoning for why they were in. But right after they meet Cell for the first time, you have the whole cast in this big ass cargo plane.
Yeah.
And Bulma didn't bring any?
Maybe they don't work in this demon realm. Maybe it needs the Magellite energy.
They probably wouldn't work in the third demon world because of the heavy air. But I think they explicitly say that's not in the second demon world.
Correct.
So, and Bulma wouldn't have known that going in necessarily.
Right, so she would still have it, maybe, but
she's got this toolbox.
It wouldn't have taken up any extra space because it's a capsule.
Yeah. So. All these things, they are fun and nitpick, but I think you also agree, Ken, is that it's fine for the story that it's telling. Like, they're crashing on a planet, and of course they'd be scared, and it's fine. They could have done these things, but whatever. It's a kid's show.
Yeah, it is. But you can still, like, so was Dragon Ball, and so was Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm.
It's just lacking that finesse. It's lacking that je ne sais quoi, I believe is the word, Doug.
You said it perfectly.
And it's just
French.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean when, like, yes, there are Toriyama elements in the show. Yes, he was involved to a variable degree. But this is why it feels like it's a shadow of Toriyama. Because it's just, it's forgetting to clean up the mess that it's leaving behind.
Very true. Yeah. And they just tangle it up even more when they throw things like Hoi Poi capsule in there of just like, oh, you made me think that you're capable, but you're kind of
in the grand scheme, because I'm sure someone is like, that's way too much of a nitpick. And like, yes, it is, right? Like, obviously... Yeah. I'm much more worried about the Namekian lifespan than I am about Bulma still calling it a hoi poi, all right? If we had like Vegeta call it a hoi poi, then I'd be over here wanting the show canceled and deleted off all media. But so I understand it's a minor thing. It's just no one has called it that in any Dragon Ball canon since the like mid 80s.
Wow. Very true.
For me,
is there
also,
anything else?
Well, for me, these episodes that I'm very nitpicky and like not enjoying, I could always change my mind with it, seeing where the story goes. Like, if all these were seeds to get somewhere, if we later on use the Hoi Poi capsules, if later on the Magellite energy comes into play, then this episode will have meaning and like, okay, I was wrong about this episode and like this is good seed planting. But for right now, as we're watching it episode by episode, it's not doing anything for me, really, honestly.
I'm just having fun, but I've said that every single one of these episodes so far, and
you're making us seem like stricklers. I'm having fun, and you guys are sour spouts or what? Sour spouts? I don't know, but yeah,
I was only sour the first time, Doug, and I think you'll come around on rewatch.
Cool.
Yeah, give it a bit. Is there anything else out of this episode that you guys really want to dive into? Either highlight and say you really like this port. That was a good port.
Yeah,
almost. I wish. Maybe it may have been too fan servicey, but for them to discuss Super Saiyan 3 and how Vegeta got there, like, kind of end the last episode, like it kind of happening, and just the one little comment like, "Oh, Vegeta, I don't know you could do that," or whatever. Like, have a little conversation and just like, "Yeah, I learned it," or something like that.
I'm sure we'll see it again, and I'd rather it come up naturally than just the characters discussing it.
I guess.
Because that's not a Toriyama thing. He wouldn't have done that.
Really? Well, that's what I mean. I've already lost faith that this is a Toriyama thing. So that's why I would expect them to do something like that.
I mean, they never were like, so Gohan, like, what was that thing you did when you did that Cell fight? Like, what was that? What was going on there?
And then Gohan's like, well, see, when you make Super Saiyan your base and then you have a rage boost, you get this new form. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's about basically it for episode 13. I'm looking forward to more, and also to talk about 2 episodes next time instead of just the 1.
And I hope I shocked and appalled the audience by not being super negative on this. I know there's some things I have problems with, but hey.
You're leaving me here in the dust to be the bad guy. I hate not liking these episodes. I want to like these episodes so much, but just doesn't have it. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Like, oh no, I actually did like this. I'm not going to fake it. Like, I really am lukewarm on this so far.
You feel how you feel.
I waited days before watching this subbed because I just was like, well, who cares? But
yeah,
but going in with that attitude, knowing that's what
maybe
I was
helped.
Yeah, it did big time.
So that's going to be that, but we're going to take a quick little break here, and then we're going to hear what you all had to say about episode 13. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Ayo Kamaki, but yeah.
Who?
The reason this episode looked so different was because of her. She did
she was the
the
director
storyboard,
of the first episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
she
did
came
look
back for this one.
fantastic.
Because it was Yashima and then like some freelancer guy.
Right. Alrighty, and we're back this time to hear what you guys had to say about some Dragon Ball Daima stuff. Ken, always being the super cool dude, is out there on, man in our blue sky and asking the big questions, saying, as Daima continues to take a narrative breather, is it secretly setting up things to come? How do you feel about the show's pacing? Should it be doing more, or are you comfortable with it? And we got a good number of responses. So Ken, why don't you take it away with this first one?
Yeah, Pika Fan writes in and says, the poorly placed and paced adventure has soured my mood, but the promising main plot progression of Arinsu keeps me staying. This episode is removable from the plot, digressed from the main conflict, and unnecessarily stretches its own conflict for no foreseeable payoff. Hopefully that changes. The tics and plot being driven by the animalistic instincts of the puppy are very creative ideas for the episode's premise. The conflict of a giant puppy exists because the writers create a situation where the established tools of our cast aren't available to them. However, the lack of an explanation of why this situation exists creates a lack of belief in it and disrupts the immersion in the conflict due to the questions of why aren't they transforming / how are they struggling, continues to take over the engagement. A very poor writing decision. The flute theme alongside the ambiance is a beautiful note to leave off of, even if it has no narrative purpose. Yeah, the music in this episode, there's some new tunes in it that I liked a lot.
Oh, they're new tunes?
Yeah, like when Goku is first exploring the forest, that's new. And then I think towards the end, it's a new one too. Yeah. But yeah, I wonder what fresh hell power scalers are going through with this series.
I mean, you just write it off as they're not going all out. They don't need to go all out because they don't want to hurt these creatures are just living. But yeah, I'm glad I share the same sentiment. Like it's, but they worded it a lot better than I could have. But it's very badly paced and nothing happens.
Jacob Sawyer says, I do think some of the structure is odd. It seems like it must be a consequence of the format change. It hasn't been upsetting to me, just odd. I will probably be more upset if it ends badly. I am still cautiously optimistic.
Same.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Kylone writes in and says, I'm personally comfortable with the show's pacing, but it does feel like it could have done more with the time it's had so far. But since I still have a good time each week, I don't mind it all that much. It'll be interesting to see how I'll feel on rewatches some years down the line, I suppose. Thinking face emoji.
Right. We're living in the moment now. We don't know how we're going to feel later on, with hindsight and
this might be a really good binger episode. Like you just kind of, it's not just a one. It's like, no, you have something else to watch right after this in a marathon viewing.
I'm going to be rewatching the show like right away after it ends. And I'm already planning because I'm going to be on the Kanzenshu podcast to do the full series review. And I'm thinking about setting aside like an entire Saturday where I just wake up at 7 a.m. and I just blast through the whole show in one go.
Dude, do you think you can do it?
If I wake up on time on a weekend, yes.
Look, Ken, there is a feature in Plex to watch together. So if you want someone to join you on this journey,
all three of us should do it.
Set aside a Saturday.
Yeah, because I'm not hating my time with this series. I think I would enjoy it better in a binging marathon viewing.
Mm-hmm.
I think even episodes like this have the potential to be vastly improved depending on if elements from it come up later down the line.
Yeah. I think the series just doesn't give us many cliffhanger ending episodes that are really engaging, whereas Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball really did have awesome cliffhangers each episode.
Yeah, I think that they always did, even though they were kind of flying by the seat of their pants versus here where we could plan this ahead. And yet sometimes it's just kind of like, well, you're going to keep watching because you like Dragon Ball. And it's like,
or like the other commenter said, I'm watching because of Dr. Aransu, what she has up in her sleeve, like what?
Right.
Like it doesn't relate to this episode, but I'm still, this character that they introduced earlier, I'm interested in, so.
I'm just glad that she showed up so that I could put her in the thumbnail.
I was shocked that you put Shin in the picture post for the Blue Sky thing. I'm like, it's not Aransu. Interesting.
It's like my favorite part of the episode when he's like about to get bit and he's
I'm not tasty. All right, got this next one here, and I apologize if I get this wrong. I think we've been following each other on social media forever, and I'm not sure if I'm reading the name right, so get at me if I'm doing it wrong. Get Kaliba says, the pacing has definitely been my only real issue to speak of with the show. It just feels so slow in comparison to basically every other Dragon Ball incarnation, and if it's really only 20 episodes, that's not good. I've still enjoyed it, but something on the back end of production is off. I see where you're coming from. I don't know. I'm not the person to respond to that because I'm having a great time.
We still got 6 episodes left, and we've accomplished so much. Like basically we're around the halfway-ish, a little more halfway, obviously, but we've planted a lot of seeds. The setting has been set. We just need to get to Dragon Demon World 3 or whatever, and then stuff will happen. I'm hoping.
It feels like, whether or not you agree about the pacing, Randy, it's the number one thing people are talking about. To the degree that it is detracting from the product. And so...
Tell me about it.
Well, the product and the conversation, right? And the conversation, who cares at the end of the day? But what were they thinking in the writing room, right? But did they just, one thing I don't know is this a cultural thing, right? I don't know the Japanese response to this series. I don't know how they feel. So is this something that they feel more okay with, this glacial pacing? Or is this just like a Westerner, everyone has ADHD and we're always looking at our phone and we just can't take it, right? Is it us?
Right. Well, also, is it a thing that I don't think the casual viewer knows that it's going to be 20 episodes long? They don't know that they might think this go on forever. So they're probably thinking in that mindset. They're not expecting us to know how many episodes this will last.
We should.
They can do whatever pace they want.
We absolutely.
It's the fans' fault that we're looking at this knowing it's 20 episodes. That's our fault for looking at this under this magnifying glass.
No, it's not. It's not our fault. It is whoever involved in the production leaked the information. It is their fault and solely their fault. We cannot help, I guess, from knowing this information.
A leaking aspect, but
yeah, knowing information is not our fault.
Readjust the story knowing that.
There's nothing we can do about it. Once you know, you know. You can't unknow these things, and knowledge layers on and affects everything of your interpretation. So, Lady Zeon.
Oh, that's right. That's you, not me. Sorry. Go ahead.
Writes in, and I think this might be the first time since I've been on here, so shouts out. The series doesn't feel like it has enough material to fill the episode count, and every other episode is padding it out with long exposition dumps or random, easily solved diversions like broken or stolen planes or attacks by soldiers. It really undercuts the fun adventure aspect of the show. I'm enjoying it week to week, but the redundant padding is dragging it down, and it'll probably make rewatches a slog.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Wonderland part, there should be so much wonder in this new demon realm, but this demon realm is just Earth, but with little tweaks on it. Nothing is too fantastical and whoa, only this could happen in the demon world. This is just Earth. This is just the Ginyu Force in Dragon Ball Z Bridge, where it's just it's space cheese. We have space McDonald's. It's just the same on Earth, but in space. With pointy ears.
It's true. Got to include the pointy ears. I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting things, but I do see, you had brought up earlier, Doug, that this episode wasn't creative to you. It's we just made everything big. It's yeah, at our point in our lives, we have seen a lot of media where it's oh, we made everything big. And, if you're younger, you're oh, so cool, so fresh, so awesome. But us, we're yeah, I've seen this 8 million times.
I remember as a kid, and this is going to be a deep cut for some people, but there's a show called Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Okay.
I believe it's Call of the Wild Boys of Moo Mesa because the COW stands for something.
Oh, okay.
I think you mispronounced it. It's called Cowboy Bebop. I think you mispronounced.
There was an episode of the show, and I was at a very young age, right, when this was on, but all the cowboys get shrunken down, And even at such a young age, I remember thinking, before I even knew what the word trope was, I was like, I am seeing this trope in every show that I'm watching, where something happens and people get shrunken down.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids really blew up.
There's that one classic episode of the Magic School Bus.
I was just going to say, where they go inside Ralph.
Yeah. There's the whole Power Rangers thing where the Megazords are humongous and everything. It's just size was an easy idea back then. Oh, now.
I mean, when you're making a list, when you're a writer, like, all right, here's the episodes we're going to do. It's for a kid show. We got to make everything big or make somebody small. All right, yeah, that's one. Then we can knock that out. Here's this other thing.
Because there is a fantastical element to it. It is interesting. But yeah, I've seen it done to heck. So, and this wasn't anything special. They didn't do anything special with it. I would be fine with it if it did something special with it. But it's just a kid. It's like, look, they got kids just like we do on Earth, and they go to school. Isn't that hilarious? Like, no.
I don't know, man. I'm all for this episode purely just to have a very beautifully animated Kamehameha hitting a dog in the face and sending him flying. The facial expression on that dog in the cheek, like, oh, that's
this wasn't
so
his first Kamehameha of the series, is it?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
Right?
Tamagami number 3.
Oh, I guess he did do it then, yeah.
I do like the idea that this is showing us that the demon world is not really that different from the outside world, right?
Right.
And it also is like doubly hilarious because then Zamasu is just this huge, what's the word I'm looking for? He's like a
douche.
Well, that too, yes, but he's judging the mortals, but him and his people really aren't that different.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
If Zamasu exists in this. Oh, no, he does. Oh no, I'm
For the
thinking
super
of,
sickos, they'll make it work,
yeah.
Doug.
Super sickos.
Yeah. So we got GGF, full name TBD, who says, the pacing was pretty slow for the first 6 to 8 episodes, but I think it's picked up since the whole gang's gotten together. This episode was a bit of an exception, but it was executed so well I didn't mind as much. I am curious to see if it feels rushed at the end or if the series is better binged. Yeah, like we were talking about, we got to see what this is like in a binge situation. And, the episode was pretty, and there was some good music and some fun interactions, and like we can't just be awesome and like, crazy action all the time. You gotta have some falling action before then you can ramp back up. It's like a roller coaster, baby. Just enjoy it while you're coming down.
I'm not saying I want action every episode. I just want interesting plot every episode.
Which
that
is why,
too much to ask.
Again, and I'm really extending the olive branch as far as I can to this production team. If you follow up on the stuff in this episode, this could be great.
Yes, I'm still open for that. They can nail it.
Kendamu writes in, shouts out, I think the show is as slow as it is because the new lore gets dropped in casual conversation every 3 sentences, like they just put wacky Toriyama interview answers into an AI prompt. Yeah, and so that's like that shadow of Toriyama.
Yeah.
It's him, but it's not him.
His ideas put through an AI generator.
Yeah.
It's like they Kendamu nailed it.
It feels, like it could be that. And then finally, this one from Shenran14. I can't really say much about episode 9 to 13, but since I stopped watching it to catch a long stream of episodes, then for me it has been slow. The first world is so underwhelming. The only thing that had my interest was exposition dumps about the past, nothing from the present.
Yeah, and that's because Glorio sucks. And when you have him as like the driving force of stuff, it can't help but suck. And he is now just a smaller piece of the pie, and so therefore the suckage, it's the official term, you'll find it in the guidebooks, guys.
I saw it,
the suckage amount is less.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. All right, cool. Well, that's everything from you guys. Thank you. I really appreciate you, telling us how you feel, letting it out, as we're coming into presumably the back half of the series. It's always nice to know.
And
what
to everyone
who
who
all have to say.
I'm sorry, to everyone who wrote in, kind of also feeling sour on this episode, rewatch it.
Yeah.
Because if Ken felt that way and changed his mind, I might do the same.
And I'm a hater. I'm a dirty hater, guys.
I just want better from Dragon Ball. It just deserves so much more. I think that's why it gets me so infuriated when I see dull episodes. It just deserves better.
Yeah, I agree.
So speaking of loving, I don't know. I was coming up with something, but then Doug had to talk about wanting things better.
My passion.
So now I lost it. Anyway, if you guys listen to the show over on Spotify, or if you don't, just go check it out over there because we always have fun interactions there. There's comments there that you guys can leave, but we also got polls for all of them. So go check it out there. This most recent one that we had for episodes 11 and 12, we asked, is Majin Buu your new favorite Daima character? And guys, guess what? Overwhelmingly, people said "do for life."
Nice.
Over, a person who just said no, he's doo-doo. So I don't like that.
Was that a custom entry or was that one of yours?
That was one of mine. So thank you for the chuckle. I'm glad that somebody appreciated that. And you know what? Guess what? I've also got an email here. I've been really bad about checking the email, but this one is pretty recent, 3 days ago. So We're not behind at all. This is an episode 13 comments, thoughts, and questions from Willis DeYoung, who says, first off, I want to say I enjoyed episode 13, but does anyone else feel the placement of the episode is completely wrong? I feel this episode should have taken place prior to the Tamagami fight with Vegeta. Pick up Neva, then fight giant hamsters so Neva can see how strong our boys are, convincing him to power up Tamagami 2 during his fight with Vegeta. Also, did anyone else expect the kid giant to accidentally eat the Dragon Ball, get stuck in his tooth, and Goku to blast it out? Just a thought. Thanks as always.
It's a proven method.
Thanks as always, Willis. P.S. Randy, check your emails more often.
Hey.
I did.
Burn.
So, you're welcome.
More often.
The reason why I checked is because we finally got monetized on YouTube, and Ken was like, did we get an email or anything about this? And I had to go check, and I'm like, oh, there's an email. Let me read this. But then, I got to keep looking for this.
So it took you having money to actually check your email as a job.
Yeah, I'd have to set up a big filter so I don't get the ones that are just constantly like, you had a comment on a YouTube short. You had a comment on a YouTube short. You had a comment on a YouTube short for the 8 million people that are asking Doug for free figures.
Yeah. I try so hard to get these figures for good prices, and everyone just thinks I'm going to give them out like hotcakes. I'm like, no, I work so hard to get them for a good price.
But keep watching because you never know. He might one day.
Maybe. It's true. And
I did buy too many Vegeta Daimas.
Mm-hmm. And Willis, I do have another email here from you that I haven't read, but I'm going to save that for later. So we'll get to it. And I'm sorry that it was late, but thank you for emailing.
Thank you for calling him out.
Yeah, and if anybody else would like to email, where hopefully I'll check and maybe set up a forwarding filter here so I can see them more often, you can email us real easy at wegotapod@gmail.com. But anyway, this brings it to trivia, and I don't think Doug was ready for it.
No, it's not like we're wrapping up. I was gonna read the thank you to Rifti Beats section.
Right?
Dang it.
Because I had talked about the emailing first before, so you know what?
Answer 1, chapter 345, question 2, Red Pants. I think I answered all of them.
Ken's gonna himself because Doug got the answers right twice over him. Yeah. So
no, if it's a chapter episode, Doug goes first.
Yes.
We've had to learn our lesson here.
Unfair to Ken for me to piggyback off his answer.
All right. So, as always, friend of the show, Zenpai, trivia deity, wrote all these himself. So, if you have any problems with them, yell at him.
If you have any problems with
All right. We got a few questions here, boys. How many of the Dragon Ball Tankobon included Q&As with author Akira Toriyama?
What?
Okay. I feel bad because Zenpai and I talked about this before. So, Doug, go ahead. And if you don't, I'll go with the answer I think I remember.
I would assume it'd be all of them, but I guess the way the question is questioned, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the right answer. I'm going to say 23. 23.
Okay. Ken, what do you got?
So, I believe Zenpai said that they stop after 12. I don't know if it's all 12, so I'm just going to say 12.
So, Ken, you're right. It is 12. They are no longer present after from volume 13 onwards.
Yeah. So. Toriyama got too big to start answering questions.
Yeah. He was already big when the series started.
I know.
So, Zenpai gave me that answer, and it was just a matter of could I remember it or not.
Right. So, he was
How does that point system work then?
But we were talking about something
that's a multiplier
different.
For Zenpai, actually.
Next question. Prior to the Digest Edition's release in 2016, which chapter's title page had only been printed in the original Weekly Shonen Jump release?
Yep, I know this one. Doug, you want to go?
No idea. I don't even know what you just said. Did you speak English there?
It is the one of, I believe, Bulma in front of that plane.
I believe you're right.
Yeah.
Because I think I had to like go clean it up or do something, or I just read about.
I couldn't tell you the chapter number, but
is that the one where she had like a cigarette?
Yeah.
But what about it? I don't understand the question. What about it? What did it? What happened?
Which chapters is that title page? So I got a number again.
Oh, that's what you're asking?
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not
that
related
one,
to the plot.
Well, it's related to the last question because the answer is also 12. It was chapter 12 versus the answer. The other one was 12
Another
volumes.
Senpai multiplier. Dang, he's racking up points here.
I'll take a half point on that one.
Yeah, you remembered exactly which title it was. Or maybe you're wrong. I don't know. I don't have the answer.
I remembered a cigarette. Does that matter?
He said
he's going to pull out. Ken's going to reach into his archive and pull out the exact right chapter.
He says it included the results of a contest with the name of the winner, Takashi Hayashida from Miyazaki Prefecture. So privacy concerns were probably the reason. All right.
That's cool that you get your name in there from Toriyama.
No, I don't get any points. It is it's that.
That I'm running in Kintoon.
Yeah.
No, I was completely wrong then.
Interesting. All right. So, last question. What is the name of the voice actor for Sea Turtle in Dragon Ball Super? Oh, man. This was old show. I'd know. All right.
None of y'all know. For Haruhi? No, I'm thinking of Dende.
I feel like I'm in Endless Eights with all this trivia.
Oh! So, I've never watched the show. I just know about it. So, Takahiro Fujimoto, who took over the role from the late, great Daisuke Gori, which is the only one that I know. So, all right, cool. You guys did great.
We did
some numbers. I'm having a good time. I don't care if you guys did good or not. Yeah. I'm just here for the ride.
The points are the friends we made along the way.
Exactly.
It might be with that one of Bulma standing in front of the plane that it has never been reprinted. Because maybe they lost something
about that, because I recall seeing that in the Kanzenshuu, like either front page or something, a discussion about it.
Now that I know I'm wrong, is that I think he had to completely redraw it.
Maybe. Oh, I think that rings a bell.
So thank you for listening. Thank you for interacting with us. And we love interacting with you. Gosh, I just got thrown off entirely there. We love keeping you in the conversation, talking about our favorite franchise in the world. You can post at us on our Blue Sky. We keep it easy. We're just at wegotapodcast.com. And of course, like I said before, you can email us your thoughts at wegotapod@gmail.com.
Now can I go, Randy? Now there's no more trivia, right?
You are allowed.
Thank you to Rifti Beats for letting us use the track Kakarot Theme Hip Hop Track Remix. You can find that track and other great music by Rifti on his SoundCloud. Ken, where can the good people find you?
You know, when I was watching Squid Game Season 2, I started seeing all these people do this little heart thing with their fingers.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that mean? And then all of a sudden, it's like when you learn a new word, I started seeing it everywhere. You can find more musings like that at detectivex.bsky.social.
And Randy?
You can find me at saberbreaker.wegotapodcast.com over on Blue Sky.
Nice.
Doug?
And you can find me at DrabazDoug. Yeah, Ken, just like that, all of us are going to start learning Mandarin thanks to TikTok being banned. Maybe. We'll see where we're at.
What's that new one? Red Note or something?
Red Note, baby. Yep.
About to hit a brown note. So thanks as always for listening. And guys, make sure you subscribe and like and everything and get all your friends in here. Randy and I talked about this briefly in the Tenchi podcast, but the goal is to someday have an editor to do these for us. And then someday we can make more podcasts and everything, but that's not going to happen until we get an editor. We're staying every other week until that point. But the only way we can get an editor now that we're monetized on YouTube and hopefully again soon on Spotify is this: use that money, pay them, and have them do it. And then we don't have to worry about it anymore. So the only way that's going to happen is with your help. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you for watching. And as always, we'll catch you matinator.
Bye.
I keep stealing the money and buying figures.